In tonight's headlines, top officials unfazed by historically low turnout for district council race, calling the exercise high quality and fair. Electoral Affairs Commission apologizes for a computer system glitch which suspended voting for half an hour last night. And the United Nations to hold another emergency meeting in hopes of brokering a ceasefire in Gaza.
Scenes of queues encircling polling stations 4 years ago were officially history, as the first district council elections to be held under a revamped electoral system was met with a lukewarm response. More than 1.19 million voters cast their ballot yesterday for the 88 directly elected seats in the geographical constituencies. That represented a turnout of 27.5%, a sharp decline from the 71% in 2019. It was also the lowest ever turnout for any district council race. Never once had the rate fallen below 35% since the handover. But heavyweight politicians refused to read into the figures. Tam Yu Chung, Hong Kong's former delegate to the National People's Congress Standing Committee, said the numbers were within expectations. People may not bother to vote, as society is now stable and the candidates are all patriots, he explained. It doesn't matter who wins, so voters didn't turn up. Another 176 councillors were elected from 3 so-called district committees. The turnout in this constituency was much better at 97%, even though only 2,454 voters turned up. The city's largest political party, DAB, were the biggest winners. They snatched 109 out of 264 seats, which were up for grabs. The Federation of Trade Unions, the New People's Party, and the Business and Professionals Alliance won 12 to 27 seats each. 104 candidates who lost their seats to their opposition rivals in 2019 will be making a comeback to the district body. Centrist parties Path of Democracy and Round Table fielded 1 candidate each, but both were defeated. Contesting in Tuen Mun West, Mark Chong of Round Table believes some of his supporters were turned away by the electoral register failure last night. In a statement, Chief Executive John Lee said the election was of high quality, as it was conducted in a fair, just, clean, safe, and orderly manner, and under a lively atmosphere. He urged elected councillors to listen to public opinion and help the government roll out policies and improve people's livelihood. Maisie Mock, Cable News.
With just a few hours before the polls closed for the district council elections last night, polling officers across Hong Kong experienced a computer system failure. At 7:42 p.m., the electronic poll register broke down, and ballot papers could not be handed out for 30 minutes. The digital system was introduced in 2021 to speed up the voting process and cost $45 million to build. From 8:12 p.m., polling officers reverted to printed copies of the electoral roll to verify voters' personal information. As a result, voting hours were extended for 90 minutes until midnight to compensate for the hold-up. But news of the system failure, coupled with drizzles last night, may have turned potential voters away. Electoral officers then worked overnight to count the votes. The results from all districts were announced by 8 a.m. Electoral Affairs Commission Chairman David Locke became emotional as he apologized this morning for the system failure.
真係唔好忽略我哋今次選舉。
Holding back tears twice, Locke urged the public not to discount the tremendous effort his colleagues have devoted to the election. The chairman also felt guilty to those who were unable to exercise their civic duty due to the blunder, although he did not have an estimate on how many voters were affected. The commission said there are no signs the electronic register came under cyber attack, adding the system was supposed to have 3 layers of safeguards.
有關政府部門覺得我唔稱職嘅，咁所以我冇所謂。
We will investigate and find out what went wrong, and if anyone shall be held accountable. That's fine by me, Locke concluded. The blunder also prompted the chief executive to meet the press in the small hours of this morning.
令到呢方面嘅工作同我哋原先嘅預期有落差。
While John Lee admitted the blunder deviated from the government's expectations, he stopped short of condemning anyone. He had demanded the Electoral Affairs Commission to set up a task force and look into the incident, with a report to be submitted within 3 months. Janice Yu, Cable News.
The Independent Commission Against Corruption has issued an arrest warrant for former Shamshui-Po District Councillor Liu Li, days after he wrote on social media asking people to boycott yesterday's district council elections. The 29-year-old was removed from the district body in 2021 after refusing to take an oath to pledge his allegiance to the government. He moved to the United Kingdom that same year. The ICAC warned that anyone inciting others to cast invalid votes or boycott the election faces a maximum of 3 years imprisonment and a fine of $200,000. The corruption watchdog also arrested a 51-year-old woman who forwarded Lee's post on Facebook. Yuan Si-wing, a clerk, was charged with breaching the elections ordinance at Eastern Magistracy this morning. She was granted bail until January. Meanwhile, veteran activist Ku Zi-yu appeared in West Kowloon Magistracy 3 days after he was arrested for attempting to perform acts with seditious intention. The 77-year-old had planned to protest against the lack of Democratic candidates in the district council race. The late-stage colorectal cancer patient was remanded until next month. Maisie Mock, Cable News.
Another day, another pile of bodies dumped outside a morgue in the central Gaza Strip. The Israeli assault has left another 297 Palestinians dead in the past 24 hours, taking the death toll in the enclave to around 18,000 since October. Many of the latest casualties resulted from the heavy bombardment of Saweda, a community outside Israel's designated evacuation zone and supposed to be safe. Further south in Khan Yunis, Hamas fighters armed with rocket launchers exchanged gunfire with Israeli soldiers on the ground throughout the day. The footage released by Hamas painted a very different picture from what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said was the beginning of the end for the body governing Gaza. Chances of another ceasefire seem to be fading, even as the United Nations General Assembly will discuss another such proposal on Wednesday morning, Hong Kong time. It comes just days after the United States blocked a similar resolution in the UN Security Council.
It's not up to Israel only. It is those who have given the Israelis the greenest of the green light to continue killing the Palestinians.
Speaking at the same forum in Doha, the UN humanitarian chief issued another grave warning about the situation on the ground.
We have more than 1 million people living in overcrowded shelter under the UN flag. People are coming to seek protection, and even the protection of the blue flag is not anymore in protection in Gaza. So by any account, the situation is of a catastrophic nature in the region.
The World Health Organization also adopted a resolution calling for immediate humanitarian access to Gaza, following a rare special meeting of its executive board. Raymond Yuan, Cable News.
Argentina has officially entered a new chapter as far-right anti-establishment crusader Javier Milei was sworn in as president. An economist and a political outsider, Milei surprised everyone by coming out on top in a runoff last month. He ousted Economy Minister Sergio Massa, who was blamed for the country's economic crisis, where inflation soared to a whopping 140%. Taking over from Alberto Fernandez in the capital Buenos Aires, other pressing tasks for Milei included alleviating property and awarding a sovereign default.
Señores gobernadores, señores diputados.
Addressing Argentines after the inauguration, the 53-year-old said he would undo decades of decadence with deep spending cuts and slash huge public debts. Milei gained prominence on a right-wing mandate during his campaign and wanted to replace the Argentine peso with the US dollar and abolish the country's central bank. Warning of an economic shock, Milei made good on his campaign promise. He signed a decree to slash the number of ministries from 18 to 9 as soon as taking office. But other challenges, such as a $45 billion US dollar debt to the International Monetary Fund, will take some time to tackle. Sachin Kadpi, Cable News.